Thank you guys for joining for Chris's workshop. We have a quick presentation for you guys today, so I will let Chris go ahead and get started. And Chris, it's all you.
Thank you very much. So today we're going to go a little bit outside of our design and development comfort zone and talk about what people look for when evaluating a web design agency. And so it helps for us to understand what people are looking for, as well as provide some tools for people that may need some help to evaluate what makes a good design agency and how they can select one that's right for them. All right, so selecting a web design agency for your next project can be a daunting task. By breaking it down into several steps, you can make this process much more manageable. Today, we're going to go through some steps you can follow to find a great web design agency, as well as some tips around what to consider along the way. The key to remember is that you're selecting a business partner that will understand your company, your business, and your goals, and will work with you to craft a website that expresses your brand. So what are the steps involved? There's essentially 5 major steps that you're going to perform. The first is going to be defining your project goals as well as your budget. The second is executing your search, finding your list of agencies that you want to research and find out more information about. The third is to check out each of those agencies' portfolio as well as their experience. Fourth is look at their reviews and check references. And 5 is to actually talk to them and interview them and get a sense for what they're about and whether they're a match for you. So the first step we're going to break down is defining your goals and budget. As a company CEO or the technology lead or marketing lead, you should really sit down and think about what you actually want to accomplish with this project. You should define clear goals and understand what things you're trying to solve and what problems you have that an agency can help you solve. Then you can take a look at what this agency needs to do in order to help you create a solution that will solve those problems. You may already have some resources that within your own company that can do some of the work and take the load off from that agency or save some budget. So there are many areas in which a project could manifest itself. The first is company branding and positioning. The second is content strategy and copywriting. And third is user experience and designing how a user will consume your website. Fourth is the graphic design of actually creating all the different elements that people will see. Website development of actually creating the front end and back end to actually make the website work. And the last is where your website is hosted, or the server that it's on, as well as any development operations or tasks related to getting the website to actually work. So once you figure out which of these areas you may already have completed, like for instance, you may already have company branding, you may already have all of your logos and everything like that created. You may already have hosting already set up. So really being able to identify which areas you need an agency to help you with regarding your website project is important before you actually start talking to anybody. So once you have an idea of what you're trying to accomplish, as well as the areas you need help in, you should really think about what your budget is that you'd like to spend on this project. This can be a range that you have available, but you should keep in mind that the highest quality and most complex websites may not be the cheapest. You should consider companies that will give you the best value for your website and provide the best return on investment, or ROI. So step 2 is going to be actually executing your search. And this can be broken down into 3 areas. First is using keyword and geographic searches or any other searches that you may want to use while you're trying to find agencies. If you know the type of solution that you want, finding an agency that specializes in that area, as well as looking for agencies located in your local area, can help uncover some great options. But you can also look in portfolio websites such as Dribbble and Behance, as well as websites that rank the top agencies. The second area is to really poll your network and ask people that you know, your colleagues, your business partners, and other people that you may know within your network, of a short list of potential agency partners. And these can be really the people that have direct experience working with that agency, is the people that you really should focus on. So this will allow you to gather information about their experience and what they liked and didn't like about that company, rather than receive a recommendation from a person that might know an individual that works at that agency, and they might not necessarily have a good idea of what working with that company is actually like. Once you've made that connection, make sure you get more information about the details of the project, what working with the company was like, and whether they would work with them again. The third step is contacting agencies that built sites you like. So if you do some searches on the web and find sites that you admire or that may be similar in style to what you're looking for, if you have the time, you can contact agencies that created that site and see if they can help you with your project. You can ask for an introduction to their head of digital marketing or their head of technology and ask who they hired. Now, not every company is really going to be forthcoming with this information, and it may take some effort, but it can be a good alternative way to find some great agencies. All right, the third step is going to be evaluating each company or each agency that you found in your shortlist and really diving deeper into what they're about, as their experience, as well as checking out their portfolio. A company's portfolio will provide a valuable look at what the agency is capable of, including its design chops, coding ability, as well as insights into how it captures the essence of a brand. It also allows you to gauge industry experience and the breadth of its ingenuity. In the end, you really want to consider, do you like the work that they do? And here are some things to consider when reviewing their portfolio. Do the sites perform well on both mobile and desktop? You should try to find an agency that puts equal weight on both mobile and other devices, since in many markets, mobile users can be the majority of users on your website. Do the websites create a cohesive brand experience? Does the site easily express the brand, who they are, and what they're about? Are the websites easy to use? Are you able to find information quickly and easily? An agency that can consistently create a distinctive user experience that is a breeze to use is definitely one you should consider. Also look at the company's own website. Is it easy to navigate and find the information you need? Lastly, do they have experience in the industry? When it comes to experience, you should look for how long an agency has been around and whether they'll keep up with modern trends. Someone that has been around for a number of years has stood the test of time and has had to adapt to changes in the industry and technologies and is still thriving. They also have the depth of experience to know how to find solutions for business problems and know what to do when something is wrong. Step 4 is to look at reviews and check references. So you can look at both client testimonials or reviews on websites such as Google, Facebook, and Clutch, and you should be able to get a sense for how the company performs and the kind of experience you can expect from those reviews and testimonials. Secondly, you can ask the agency for references that you can speak with about their experience with the company. In this case, you can probably get a lot more information and a lot more of your questions answered when you speak to references rather than just looking at a testimonial that somebody wrote. And these are a very important aspect, and if a company isn't necessarily willing to provide references, that's something to consider. So when you actually talk to a reference, here are some recommended questions that you can ask, such as, what is the project you hired the agency for, and what services did they provide? Did they deliver the project on time and on budget? And if not, what did they do to mitigate that issue, and what could they have done differently? Very important question is, would that reference hire them again for the next project, and why or why not, depending on their answer. Lastly, a couple questions. What do they most enjoy by the company, and what areas could that agency most improve? I think with those base questions, you'll get a sense for what type of experience you'll get with that agency. But in the end, you should try to get a sense for if the previous client will heartily recommend that agency and whether you think the experience of working with that agency will be a good fit for you. All right, so the next step after you've done the research that you can outside of talking with that agency, you probably narrow your list at that point a little bit, and you can select the companies that really stand out to actually talk to them and see what they're about. Contact the agency and organize an opportunity to speak with them. And you should really treat this like an interview, as if you're interviewing one of your employees, because you're trying to develop a long-term relationship with this agency, and you really should find a match. It's as much of a chance to learn about the agency as the agency will learn about your business and your needs. Some important things to look for when you actually talk with this agency. We'll go through a handful of them. There's obviously many more things that you'll have to consider, but these are definitely some of the top items that you should think about. The first thing is if they listen. Do they work to understand your business, what you expect, what your goals are, and what challenges you're trying to overcome? Absorbing the essence of your brand, understanding the problems that you face, and listening to your key ideas are elements that go into creating a great website. So it's very important that they hear you and take the effort to understand your business. Secondly, they have a vision for your project. Do they do a good job articulating their vision for that solution that will meet your company's needs? Is that solution focused on delivering results for your company. The agency you choose should be able to take the information they've gathered and bring new and exciting ideas to you. Have they spent the time to craft the best plan for your business? Additionally, you should look at the details of that vision, such as what content management system they recommend and how it suits your needs. Will the implementation be responsive, and does the design process take mobile into account? Next, do they have a plan? Does the agency present a well-defined process to create your website? Do they have a designated project manager to keep everything on track? There are many steps that go into delivering a website, and an agency that is organized and is focused on keeping your project moving forward towards the finish line is important. An extremely important point is that they make you feel comfortable. Are you at ease when you interact with them? You'll be working with this agency very closely over the course of this project and hopefully more projects, and it's very important that the agency's culture and personality match yours. Next, they have experience in many industries. A company that focuses on a particular niche may be more formulaic in its approach. An agency that has experience in a diverse set of industries is more likely to have the skill set to be able to identify the things that make your company stand above the rest and be able to distill that into a unique website. Lastly, check if the agency communicates well. A good web design agency will be responsive, excel at explaining their ideas, and answer your questions thoughtfully, professionally, and efficiently. They'll provide easy to understand explanations and break down any unfamiliar terms to ensure that you're up to speed along the way. You don't want to pick a web design agency that talks around you and doesn't take the time to make sure you understand each piece of the project. Also look for an agency that's willing to train you on how to use your new website and answer any questions you may have. So after performing each of these steps, you'll have a lot of information to process. However, you will have a good sense of what each agency is about, its capabilities, and a sense of the type of work that they do and what working with that agency will be like. Choosing a web partner isn't a decision that should be rushed. Take your time to gather that information. You need to make a decision, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Your website is often the first introduction a customer may have to your brand and business, and it will be worth the time to find an agency that is right for you. Okay, and so we'll move on to questions or any comments about anything.
That was great. Thank you. I have a question. Actually, I have a couple questions, but I'll just start with one. So when you're talking about companies, what does that mean? Does that mean because there are people who are kind of individual web builders, right? So are you does your presentation include them? Does it exclude them for some reason?
Yeah, so I think in this case, most people that are looking for an agency are looking for a series of people. Like Cantilever, you have a group of people that have a various set of skills. And I think for people that are looking for an individual, you're not necessarily looking for an agency. So there's definitely some overlap between the attributes and the things you're looking for between an individual and an agency. However, an agency typically has a larger group of people that can do many different things. And generally, when you're talking about an individual, it's much more focused. You may find that there are people that do have a large breadth of experience in different things, but they may not necessarily have the same breadth to perform as large of a project that an agency could. So I think in this case, you're talking about people that are looking for larger website projects that are looking for an agency, rather than an individual that might create something a little bit more simple. That's not to say that individuals can't, but it's really dependent on sort of what the needs are for that person or that company that's looking for a website.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's super helpful. I have another question.
Sure.
Is there any positive reason for why an agency would not give you references?
It really depends. And I think there are some agencies that deal with a lot of companies that are very private, and or they work for the government. There are things that clearance issues where they may not be able to divulge information to you, or put you in contact with those people that they've worked with because of those confidentiality issues, either because of government confidentiality or just NDAs that they have signed with specific clients. So there are cases where a company might not be able to speak about a project or two, but generally, unless they're in a specific field where everything is under some sort of confidentiality agreement, there's going to be things that they can talk about. There's going to be things that they can give you a reference to. It may not necessarily be every single project, and it may not necessarily be a project that's specifically inside of your industry, but that generally there are some amount of references that a company can give.
Okay, great. Because my thought was like, no references, red flags, don't go there. And probably no references would be bad, but not divulging all references isn't necessarily bad.
Right. And generally most companies will be able to say, yeah, we have, a large, military contractor that we deal with, top 5 contractor that we have, or top 5 company or whatever in that industry, but we can't necessarily talk about that, right? They may be able to give you some details about that company that without giving too much information. So that you can, and oftentimes that'll be some of the portfolio things that they talk about. Like they may only have a limited set of portfolio pieces, but they can talk about in general terms of what they have done without giving you specific company details.
Okay. So in worst case scenario, what would safeguard against companies lying about stuff like that?
I mean, it's really hit or miss. I mean, that's why you really want to find companies that are very forthcoming with their portfolio and giving you references to, so that you can actually talk with people and get their experiences. It's because, people can, if all they're doing is providing you, general information, they can stretch the truth sometimes. So finding those companies that are, really out in the open is definitely a good thing to look for.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Well, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it. Super helpful information. Thank you guys for joining. Let us know if you do have any other extra questions. So if you want to come back and reference the presentation or remind yourself of some of the tips that Chris had given, feel free to check us out there.